Hello, everyone. My name is Rob Spurka, and I'm a product marketing manager at Project Lead the Way, and I would like to welcome you to today's webinar. Today, we'll welcome educators across the country to discover ways that PLTW can provide an exceptional learning experience for students and to share how to make programs possible through various funding opportunities. Before we begin, I want to share a few tips on how to maximize your webinar experience. We have several PLTW team members joining us today to moderate the Q&A as well as the chat box. Please join the conversation, share your story, and ask questions by engaging with fellow participants and subject matter experts. Our team members are available to answer questions during the webinar. If you have a question, please submit them through the Q&A chat box. Don't worry if we're unable to answer your question live today. We'll follow up after the webinar with additional information and answers to outstanding questions. I encourage you to use the chat area to talk about the content and network with other attendees. And we also welcome you to take our next step survey at the very end of the webinar. Today, we're going to give you a brief introduction to Project Lead the Way and what it provides you and your students. Then we'll hear from actual PLTW students about their experiences with Project Lead the Way program. Then we'll have a discussion with a panel of PLTW Gateway teachers and administrators about the successes they've had and how they've implemented and funded their middle school programs. After hearing from your peers, we'll show you what it's like to be immersed in a PLTW Gateway classroom. Then we'll share grant and federal funding options available to schools and districts. And finally, we'll round out our time by answering your questions. So as we know, middle school is a time of exploration, a time when students are figuring out what they're passionate about today and how that relates to who they'll become tomorrow. The PLTW Gateway classroom experience engages students, fueling that exploration. Time and time again, we hear stories about student discovery with PLTW, how students who normally don't step forward are the ones who shine in class, and about the effect on the teaching experience too. We hear how teachers who've reached a burnout point have been reinvigorated once they've had a chance to teach PLTW. From remote Alaskan districts along the Bering Strait to the largest districts in the US, to the single building schools in rural towns, the stories are consistent. PLTW's research-proven, hands-on, problem-based curriculum unlocks students' and teachers' potential. During this transitional middle school time, PLTW Gateway inspires career confidence and empowers students to lead their own discovery. The hands-on program boosts classroom engagement and excitement, drives collaboration, and sparks aha moments and deep comprehension. As the students engage in the program's pathways in computer science, engineering, and biomedical science, they see the range of career paths and possibilities available to them. PLTW's unique, problem-based instructional approach supports student ownership of their learning, provides appropriate scaffolding, and prepares students to tackle real-world challenges. Also, industry-validated curriculum empowers students to gain the in-demand transportable skills that are highly sought after by employers, as referred to as employability skills. And our pre-K through 12 focus progressively prepares students for more challenging, higher level work and ensures students can develop a deep understanding of concepts and practices as they advance to high school. Now, when we say career discovery, what do we mean? Well, here are just a few examples. In the Computer Science for Innovation and Makers unit, students think like hardware and software engineers, physical computing technicians and artists, and wearable tech designers. In design and modeling, they assume the roles of drafting engineer, design engineer, mechanical engineer, and statistician as they use the design process and solve problems. And in medical detectives, students explore a variety of career paths as they act as medical detectives, emergency room doctors and nurses, microbiologists, neurologists, epidemiologists, and more. The 10 PLTW Gateway units provide a variety of possibilities to serve the needs of each school's students and communities. And because real-world problems are not confined to just one discipline, the curriculum engages students in interdisciplinary learning that integrates multiple fields of study. To ensure that More middle school students have early and equal access and can leverage the opportunities created by the PLTW experience. We offer all PLTW Gateway units in both English and Spanish. All student and teacher materials are available in both languages at no additional investment to support a variety of immersion models. We'd like to thank our transformative partner, Chevron, for making this all possible. And to prepare our educators to lead the learning and build their confidence in subject areas, we provide transformative professional development. PLTW core training is designed to create dynamic learning experiences for educators through powerful and flexible instructional support, as well as ongoing professional community too. Teachers take on the role of a student, engage in in-depth exploration of PLTW coursework, and gain invaluable experience to take back to their classrooms. Now that we've provided a big picture of the PLTW Gateway program, we want to hear directly from some of our students. Last fall, we were able to interview students from the PLTW Gateway experience. While watching the interviews, keep an eye out for the transportable skills that these students possess. We couldn't be more proud of them, and we hope you are as well.
Back to the ESOL students, like, it's really been awesome to see them integrated into lessons. Most of the time, you know, they're off to the side in the classroom, not really understanding everything, but, you know, being able to have the Spanish curriculum, they're being able to work with the English speakers, you know, not feel left out.
My favorite thing about Project Lead the Way is working together as a team to build mechanical solutions to problems.
The thing I enjoyed most about PLTW is being able to work with other people and do hands-on activities and problem solve on our own, helping each other, and yeah, it's just been a great experience.
I've been through, like Mr. Max said, the courses, automation and robotics. I've been through app creators and in computer science for innovators and makers. And out of those three, my favorite has been app creators. Through this course, I've been able to find my passion for computer science. And it was just in 6th grade when I realized that I wanted to be a software engineer, you know, have my future tech company. And it's just been, you know, amazing since then.
My favorite project I did in Project Lead the Way was definitely the toll booth. I really like this project because of the challenge of trying to make the moving parts work and not fail.
The project that I enjoyed most and really loved in PLTW was the car project. So being able to create a car with your teammates and doing work and error codes and seeing what works and what doesn't and what's the most efficient way to build the car was really fun for me. And I also enjoyed the competitive side of everything, like talking with other groups and trying to make your car faster than other groups and using different techniques than them. And I really enjoyed that part of the car project.
Every time I see these students, I'm reminded of why we do what we do. Thank you so much to them for sharing their time with us last fall, so you're able to hear from them today. Thank you so much also to our panelists for being here today to share their stories. I want to briefly introduce all of you, and then we'll dive into our questions. We have Monica Walker, Director of the Career Academy at Gateway High School, Lee County District, Florida. And we also have Angelica Gunderson, teacher at Los Alisos Middle School, Norwalk Unified School District in California. I want to note that Ms. Gunderson has been recognized as one of the 21-22 PLTW Outstanding Gateway Teachers. So congratulations on that. I want to dive into the first question here, and I think I'll send this to you first, Monica. What was the initial motivation for bringing PLTW Gateway to your school or district? What problem were you trying to solve for?
Our 6th and 7th graders didn't have as many electives from which to choose as our 8th graders did. And so we wanted to expose them to something meaningful. We also had received a STEAM magnet grant, so we were lacking in STEAM electives. So as a result, we wound up looking to PLTW, and it satisfied the needs of making sure that our 6th and 7th graders, in addition to our 8th graders, would have access to career type STEAM electives.
Excellent. And what about you, Angelica? Same question.
So when we first looked at Project Lead the Way, we didn't have much STEM opportunities for our students, but we had a lot of interest. And we knew this because we had started a couple of after-school programs, robotics for students, and we had a lot of interest. And we wanted to integrate it into our actual curriculum. So we went ahead and did an exploration of Project Lead the Way. We also were science teachers. A lot of the science teachers initiated this, and we were getting an overhaul for our science curriculum due to the new standards. And we really needed to see good examples of actual project-based learning that engaged our students in rigorous instruction. So that was a motivation for us to go and find something that was structured, that would help us help our students and really provide a need that was there for our community.
Well, we certainly are really glad that you were able to find what you needed in our middle school program. You're saying a lot of magic words there: project-based learning, student engagement. So those are wonderful examples. As examples of what the impact has been on your PLTW Gateway students, you described those. How about your teachers?
Is that for me?
Yeah, Angelica will go first.
Well, I actually taught science for the last 13 years until last year as a science teacher, and my partner was also a science teacher at the time. It really transformed the way that we saw STEM education. It helped us look at the ways that we could integrate science, technology, engineering, and math in a more approachable way for our students. It helped us figure out the things that we needed to engage our students in projects. And it created a fire at our site that was it spread to other teachers. Now we have all of the courses being offered at Los Alisos. We have multiple teachers with multiple teaching multiple sections, and every single time that our administrators like, who wants to get trained for Project Lead the Way, we have a lot of interest. Every single time that a teacher goes into one of these courses, they gain skills that they didn't even realize they could acquire, and they come back, as you mentioned, invigorated and like, I can't believe I can do this. And because you have to be the student first in order to teach these courses, it puts you back in that student perspective, and it really humbles you and makes you think about your craft in a very in-depth way. And you come back really, really developed as an instructor.
That's excellent. We PLTW can say all day long that we hear these stories about how it spreads to other teachers, not just the PLTW teachers. So it's always great to hear your perspective on that, because that's where the real value is. Monica, what about you in your school? What about the impact on students and teachers there?
So first, with the students, we saw an immediate impact. They were rushing to get to class on time, so that's a great problem to have. They enjoyed learning. The lessons were interactive. They were engaging. They were just excited about what was going to happen next. They were collaborating in classes, having conversations. So these were good conversations that they were having. They enjoyed being hands-on outside of the classroom. We had engineering and we had app creators. So some of the kiddos would go out to other parts of the campus just for a different venue. And so that was fun for them. And as for the teachers, they enjoyed learning. Like Angelica said, they went through the process first. They appreciated the network that they had where they could ask these questions. How do I onboard the kids? What about this? What about that? So that immediate support right there. What do you do when this happens? What do you do when that happens? So as a coach in the building, it was really nice for the teachers to be excited about what they were teaching and not saying, oh, how am I going to help them make this an interactive class? So it made everybody's job across the campus enjoyable.
That's magic right there. We talked in the presentation portion about the career exploration. How has PLTW Gateway supported or enhanced that in your school? Monica, let's stick with you.
So with career exploration, it definitely enhanced it. We didn't have many electives, as I said, especially those geared towards career. So now students were able to dip their feet into engineering, into computer science, into app development. And so now these were things that they never even thought to ask at the middle school level. And as a result, they started thinking, well, what high school am I going to go to? So it made them really think beyond the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So as they started looking at high schools, beginning in the 7th grade, they started thinking, well, I want to go here because that's going to support the avenue that I think I want to follow. And they also looked at, they had different choices. So they weren't just stuck in one academic path. They had academic, they had tech, they had vocational. So it just really opened up the conversations that the kiddos were having about their own careers.
Angelica, we'll play the tennis match here. Let's go back to you.
So prior to having Project Lead the Way electives, we pretty much had a career day, and that was our exposure to careers. And if a teacher took it upon themselves to show students different careers, that would be it. Now there is a dedicated space for actually exploring the careers that students would apply the skills that they're learning in class, which answers the everyday question of when am I going to need this, right? So they actually get this protected space to really look at skills that they would use in a potential career pathway. My favorite thing of this whole experience has been the computer science aspect, because prior to having computer science at our site, we had no idea the careers that were available for students in that area. And it was through the Project Lead the Way Verizon grant that we initiated our first computer science course at the middle school level at Los Alisos in the district. And it increased our computer science pathway enrollment. We had more girls, more students overall going into that pathway, because now students knew what they were actually getting into, and it dispelled a lot of misconceptions that were there about computer science, so that it increased their interest. Our Project Lead the Way engineering, biomedical, and computer science pathways at our sister high school are very healthy, because a lot of our students that are leaving here are going straight into those pathways.
Since you mentioned that, I want to follow up on that and have you explain more about how the PLTW Gateway curriculum might connect those students into the pathways they're interested in those high schools. Can you speak on that?
So in the middle school, we offer all the 10 sections, and the students get to kind of experience a little bit of biomedical, a little bit of computer science, and a little bit of engineering, with the thought that at some point when they go into the high school, they'll go into the courses designated for engineering, or the courses designated for biomedical or computer science. So the high school has more advanced courses in those areas. The gateway courses are just to kind of introduce them to the types of things they would be doing in those pathways. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I was just wanting a little bit of a voice of experience perspective on that. Thanks. The next question that I have for you, Angelica, we'll stick with you. So students everywhere, as we all know, are feeling the learning loss from last year's challenges. So what strategies is your school implementing to close those gaps?
So right now our district is really focusing on listening to our students and our staff, and looking at really using accountable talk to help our students communicate where the areas of confusion are. And that's been prominent in all our classes, really trying to take it slow with our students and trying to see the patterns that we're noticing, bringing them back to staff meetings and discussing, well, this is what we're noticing, these are things we could be doing. I do need to say that on my part, because my classes, I teach Project Lead the Way all day. In our courses, because the kids are up and moving around and doing hands-on activities, and they're on the computers and they're hooking things up, I don't seem to have the same patterns a lot of other people have, because the kids are like doing stuff. And I don't know if that makes sense. So I know that movement and just kind of like having like a goal oriented structure, like the APB structure is really helping out right now, because like they know levels, right? Video games levels. So they're gonna go through like level, I'm gonna level up every single time so I can get to the skills so I can do this project. But I know that as a staff, we are having these really meaningful discussions about what are the things that we're noticing, how can we give more grace, but still keep the rigor up? And what are some tools that we have that we can use to kind of help our students catch up when they need to catch up?
Yes, that makes total sense. That's the whole theory behind the design of project-based learning in and of itself. So Monica, is the experience same for you?
Yeah, so our district has instituted Wellness Wednesday. So we stop instruction across the district one day a month in a particular class period. And it's the same class period so that the teachers can get to know kind of the nuances of the different students. So there's a specific curriculum that we follow to check on social and emotional wellness. And, there's a different themed video each month. And so we kind of keep that conversation going throughout. So that's how we deal with the social emotional aspect. And in that same vein, we've also instituted Data Thursday. So the other teachers on a Thursday will follow that same model, but looking at data. So how are they doing with their grades? How are they doing with any extracurricular things that they're trying that might contribute to scholarships and so on and so forth. So combined with those two things, our students are definitely being taken care of. And finally, in addition to that, we also have different mentors for the students. So the students can choose a teacher that they can reach out to, and they just do a check-in with them. Hey, I'm doing okay. How are you doing? I love that question. And then as far as the staff, because I want to tell them, but anyway, as far as the staff goes, we have our professional learning communities, we have our department meetings, and the leadership team meets once a month to pulse the campus, not only those in our own department or our section, but like with the custodians and the cafeteria staff. So we just check on everybody, and it's just been this, hands-on, like, how's everybody doing? So we feel pretty good this year as compared to 2020, yeah.
That's excellent. And yeah, I love that peer connection. That mentor program sounds like it's a pretty rich opportunity for both sets of students. So the final question I have here for the panel is about funding opportunities. So can you talk a little bit about what funding your school or district has used to implement PLTW programs? Monica, we'll stick with you.
Yeah, so we had received the STEAM grant. That was a federal grant that we received at the middle school, and that absolutely funded it. So that was really a gift. But then when I went to the high school, I was stuck because I thought I really enjoying Project Lead the Way. It's great for students, and some of those kiddos that I had in middle school, they're going to want to keep on with that same path. So Mary Murphy, who's our representative down here in South Florida, she was able to help us out. We were definitely proactive of asking her so many questions. Maybe that's a better question for her. But we asked for another grant. So she turned us on to to a couple of other grants that were available, and we received that. So we were able to do engineering and cyber at high school. I also went to the district and said, we call ourselves a world-class district, but are we really offering world-class electives to our kiddos? And so if we could we use Project Lead the Way as sort of our textbook? So can we use curriculum funds to make that our textbook? Because, we don't have that. But in the absence of those funds, we use Title I funds and try to figure out how else we can bring it on campus.
Okay, good. And Angelica?
So my understanding is when we first started Project Lead the Way at Los Luises, we used a lot of the principal that started it got some grants. I don't know exactly which grants, but then they also used Title I funds because we're a Title I school. We used LCAP, Local Control Accountability Plan funding. And then because it started in Los Luises and it kind of exploded out, the district then took it over, and they have been able to be more coordinated with getting additional grant funding that comes out of CTE. I also mentioned earlier that we actually started the first computer science middle school program through Project Lead the Way, thanks to the Verizon grant. So I was one of the lucky recipients. My class was one of the lucky recipients of that. And recently they've been using some of the COVID funding, the emergency funding, to train more teachers and to augment our offerings, which is why we can teach all 10 of them at Los Lisos now.
The blending of funding resources is a common story that we hear, and I wanted to save that question for last because it sets us up for the funding conversation we'll have here just very shortly. But I want to thank you both for your time today. Thank you for taking the time to share your experience. One of the best ways to find out about a PLTW classroom is actually to visit a PLTW classroom to see the students and teachers in action. Since we aren't able to physically take you to a classroom, we wanted to provide you with the next best thing, a 2-minute sneak peek at what your classroom can be. You're able to see exactly what Angelica and Monica were talking about. Engage students, hands-on in all 3 pathways, teacher as facilitator. Thank you to all the students and teachers for their enthusiasm for PLTW programs. Next, I'd like to transition to our presenter for this afternoon, Autumn Berry, Senior Director for Implementations. Hi, Autumn.
Hi, Rob. Thank you so much. As Senior Director of Implementations, one of my favorite parts of my job is working alongside school administrators and teachers in creating a customized implementation plan that meets their school's vision and goals to expand opportunities for all students. We just heard from our panelists how they have seen firsthand the way PLTW has transformed the learning and teaching in their schools. But the first step in that transformation process is in creating a strategic plan. And part of that plan is having a detailed view of the required investments and identifying the funding sources that you can use to support your program. PLTW programs vary in cost, but each program includes investments in 3 categories: participation fees, professional development, and equipment and supplies. The participation fee is an annual fee that covers all of the curriculum access and software rights for your PLTW programs. To be able to teach one of our PLTW courses, a teacher must be trained by PLTW in our core training experience. This is an online training led by some of the best PLTW teachers in the country. Lastly, our curriculum is project-based and very hands-on, so there are some equipment and supplies that you will need for your implementation. So now that we know more about the investments needed, let's talk about some funding opportunities to help you grow your programs. Every year, we have a wide variety of PLTW grants available for all programs, including brand new programs and program expansion. These PLTW grants are made possible by our partnerships with leading organizations across the country. And since 2016, we have awarded over 5,300 grants to schools totaling over $51 million. And this year, we have more grants available to schools than ever before. Are you looking to make a bigger impact in your district with PLTW by adding new programs? We have brand new grant opportunities for all 5 of our programs currently available on our website. These new PLTW grants will cover the cost of teacher training as well as program participation fees for the next 2 years. Please check our grant opportunity webpage to find out more and schedule a meeting with your local PLTW team member. We are ready and willing to find out more about your district vision and help you with your grant application. Through these grants, PLTW will partner with your school or district to help you throughout your PLTW implementation journey and beyond. Applying for PLTW grants is easy through our simple application process located in your My PLTW account. And if you don't already have one, you can create this account quickly and easily on our website. We award grants on a rolling basis from July 1 to June 30th, so schools may submit applications annually. PLTW keeps applications on file until June 30th of each year, so we may consider schools for more than one grant opportunity throughout the funding cycle. Our PLTW grant opportunities are amazing, especially this year, and we encourage everyone to apply. But in addition to grant funds, there are other federal funding options to help you grow your PLTW programs. Let's spend just a couple of minutes discussing them and the newest options in particular. The American Rescue Plan, or ARP, was just signed into law this year and provides highly flexible, unprecedented funding through the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund, also known as ESSER. This program creates a unique opportunity for innovation, equity, and access within your school, and many schools are already taking advantage. These funds may be used to support all 3 PLTW investment areas. Just a few details about use of ARP. 80% of ELA's ESSER 3 funds are highly flexible and can be used for a wide variety of activities in response to COVID-19. These ESSER 3 funds may be used for any activity currently authorized by existing federal law, including Project Lead the Way. Additionally, no less than 20% must be used to address the learning loss through the implementation of evidence-based interventions, to respond to students' academic, social, and emotional needs, and address the disproportionate impact of the coronavirus on students. So, in simplified language, what are the allowable uses? The funds can be used for curriculum for all students, teacher training, allowable ESEA and Perkins uses, equipment and supplies, technology, in-school, after-school, and summer learning. Because the Act references evidence-based curriculum, we created evidence papers, one for each grade level, which enable you to dive deeper into the structure of our evidence-based curriculum, learn about our unique problem-based learning approach, and review the research supporting the positive impact PLTW has on student achievement. You can download these resources from our website. Is your head spinning yet? There are so many opportunities. ARP, Perkins, ESSA. So to help you break it down and compare, we have created a federal funding side-by-side resource on our website. This will help you see what federal funds are available and which ones can be used for our 3 investment categories. Once you get a handle on how these funding opportunities differ, you're probably wondering, where do I start? For that, I'm going to turn it back over to Rob.
Thank you very much, Autumn, for the excellent overview and resource review. Yes, we're happy to support you with the next steps. We recommend that you connect with a PLTW team member to discuss any questions that you have. Also visit PLTW.org on our PLTW Gateway page. You can use the range of resources there like science standards alignment, unit outlines, and summaries to help you plan your implementation. Also read the blog stories about how other schools have unlocked student potential with PLTW and access those additional funding resources for ARP, Perkins, and ESSA on our funding and grants opportunities page. Also, as we mentioned, be sure to apply for grant funding at mypltw.org. Thank you again for your time today. We'll be launching a poll to find out what next steps we can help you with. You should see that on your screen shortly. There. Now, within a week, you'll receive an email with the recording of this webinar and additional resources to help answer questions you might have. If you'd like to reach out to a PLTW team member, use the link that's been posted in the chat. This information will be included in the follow-up email as well. So this concludes the presentation portion of our webinar, but PLTW team members and panelists will remain to answer any questions you have. Please add your questions into the Q&A. Have a great rest of your day otherwise.
Hey, Rob, this is Matt. One of the questions that came through, and maybe I can just answer this question, is around who can teach PLTW Gateway? And I know we have two teachers here with different backgrounds. The short answer to that is really anyone. So it depends on credentialing, might run depending on the state. But one of the things we find with Gateway is we have English teachers teaching PLTW courses. We have science teachers, math teachers. We have counselors that get certified, administrators. There are quite a few teachers that are, or teaching assistants that are coming in and doing this so they can assist with teaching either during the school day or after school. So the question around it is really there's a ton of flexibility. If it's a question around what credential is appropriate, I would say you could reach out to your PLTW contact. Sometimes we'll refer you back to your own credential specialist for your school or district. But tons of flexibility there. So if someone wants to teach it, there's probably not a barrier. We can probably figure out a way to help get them to be able to teach it.
Yeah, and it's certainly not necessary to have that subject area expertise, as you were saying. Another question that I see here that has come in is what kind of support do first-year schools have in implementation? We have a variety, once again, a lot of flexibility. We have a variety of resources. Autumn or Matt, can you talk a little bit more about what those are?
Sure, I'm happy to jump on. So support for your from your cohort of teachers that you train with is the first thing that comes to my mind. So when our PLTW teachers are trained, all credentialed PLTW teachers have full access to our teacher guide, which is a full teacher guidance for the curriculum that you have access to at all times with additional resources. And then you stay connected with your cohort of teachers, and your master teachers that led you through that training can provide support as well. We also have an online professional development community. So every credentialed teacher is a part of our online community where they have the ability to interact, share resources, ask questions with other PLTW trained teachers across the country. So that's an excellent resource for ongoing support. And then PLTW provides webinars and various opportunities throughout the year. And your PLTW director for your school and area also provides specific support for districts. So we have a variety of options there. I don't know if Matt wants to add anything else to that.
No, I think that's great. I mean, one of the things that I'm just so proud of, having been a former teacher and principal, is the type of support we have. So the community is just something I never experienced as a teacher. So reach out to each other. I mean, you have master teachers that love to help. One of the things I think people just love to share. The other thing is reach out to your director of school support, your director regionally. We usually can help you with onboarding support, making sure you're getting off and running in a successful way. We also will connect you with the right people. Oftentimes, Angelica might know, people in Norwalk Long Run, I will send people to visit schools, whether virtually or in person, will go visit schools. So it's always nice. I think that's another great opportunity. We know visiting schools is hard, especially in that first year right now with COVID. But I know a lot of people are opening up their classrooms virtually. So don't shy away from making that ask to use the network.
Great, thank you. And Stacy Klein, I see your comment in the chat that you're really pushing to have PLTW launch in your elementary schools to really help support the pathway. So thank you for sharing that. That's something that we've seen a lot this year, especially with ARP. We've had districts, there's a district in Louisiana that we were just talking to last week that is using that same opportunity with ARP to bring 19 schools in their district, bring PLTW launch into those schools so they can complete the pathway from elementary school to middle school up to high school.
And I know, Stacy, just to say, Rob, I think Stacy brought up a great point. Stacy is out here in Santa Ana Unified. But I would say if you're interested in growing your program, as was already mentioned, with funding, there's just an insane amount of grant opportunities available right now. A lot of our funders that you've seen traditionally, the John Deere, Verizon, Chevrons, RDOT, that you saw that list, they're funding. But we also have PLTW grants. If you're interested in growing Launch and Gateway specifically this year, there's an amazing opportunity that has never existed before. You can learn a lot about it on our website, but that's going to help you. It's actually going to help pay for participation fees and training of teachers. So if you're looking at a large implementation to grow your elementary middle school programs, don't let funding be a barrier. And that's a rolling application process. Our team is looking to find schools that match that grant constantly. So apply. There's no harm in applying. And we would love to be able to help find that funding for you. It shouldn't be a barrier.
And I see the chat continuing about rolling it into our dual immersion program. Absolutely, I've directed everybody to go to our on our site, our blog stories. There's a story there that that is referenced in the chat. Dr. Patricia Ray wrote a blog story about their experience with their dual immersion program. And it's one, then there's the link for it too. Excellent. Yeah, it's a good story, and we're seeing those kind of results all over the place. We have a school down in El Paso that has used the Spanish curriculum to help them reach benchmarks that they were in danger of missing for a third year. So they've got great success stories there as well. The next question I see here is that, is there a specific technology that's needed for the curriculum? Matt, I see you off mic, so you get it.
I just guess I hadn't muted myself again. I'm going to just say that one of the really, we don't ever want to talk about benefits, but of COVID-19. But one of the things that we saw, I think, even as an organization, is our ability to pivot and make things more device agnostic. And so one of the things you'll find with Gateway, and really across Launch and even our upper level high school courses, is that our curriculum is really designed to be used on multiple platforms, whether it's iOS, Chrome, Android devices. You know, if you've got PC devices running Windows operating systems, there is a huge opportunity for you to use PLTW across the board. If you have to pivot because students go to distance learning, they should have no barriers to that also. The distance learning enhancements are going to work on those devices. If you do not have the hardware to be able to use PLTW because of the technology, that'd be another place to say reach out to your director. We have AWS virtual labs that are an unbelievable asset to help say that if you have a school that the software is not going to work on your devices, you can actually use a cloud-based solution. And so your director can help provide information. Also, the Solution Center can give info on that. We can probably throw a link into the chat too for more info on the AWS virtual labs.
I think that we could have had flexibility as a word on every single slide of the presentation, because as you've heard in these answers and in the discussion from our panelists, there is great flexibility in everything we do. We think from the perspective of the student, think from the perspective of the school and the teacher, and we try and provide that flexibility because we know that there is a variety of needs out there. Every school and district is different. So in things like hardware support, in implementation, in our methods of training, we provide a variety of options. I don't see any other questions. Yep, and we just Matt just put the link in the chat. So since I don't see any other questions, I want to thank everybody for their time, and you can look for that follow-up email coming up here within the next couple of days. Thank you so much for your time, and everybody have a great day.